All right, what up, what up, what up? It is that guy Dub, and I'm back with another video. How you guys doing at the end of the day? Shout it, I'm good money. Now, today, we've got a special guest from the world famous show talking about balls, Mr. Justin George. What's going on, my brother?
Not too much, man. Thank you for having me. How you doing today?
Man, I'm doing all right, man. Just trying to make it do what it do every day.
Absolutely. You have a good weekend so far?
Oh yeah, definitely, man. We're just sitting here. Like I said, I had to work yesterday, and then I'm off today. So you said it's the one interview I had booked for today, and then it's daddy time for the rest of the time. So you know how
That's
that goes.
awesome. I'm getting 18 in later. I'm going golfing today. So
Okay, he said, I've never been golfing. What's that like?
I actually just started because my wife is really good. So my wife's golfed her whole life. She was on the high school team. Um, and then we met in 2007. So we've been together a long time. And I knew she would kick my ass at golf. So I always refused to go with her. And recently I decided to bite the bullet and go. And sure enough, she's kicking my ass, but I'm having a good time doing it.
Okay, so like, what's the best part about it? I mean, is it like any other sport, or you like you get real competitive? Because like I've seen it on TV, but I've just like I said, I've never like indulged in
So
it.
for me, it's way different than any other team sport because if you screw up in basketball or football, your teammates can help pick you up. In golf, you're by yourself. So if you have a bad shot, you're only mad at yourself. You have no one else to blame. It can be really great, but it can be really frustrating also.
Okay,
It's a lot of mental involved in
right,
golf.
right. Well, it's like sometimes you see all these golf videos on TikTok and everything like that. Like watching those prior to starting golf, did it have you intimidated?
Oh, 100%. I watch TikTok videos all the time trying to get pointers. Everybody has a different method. Everything I've tried, some of it works, some of it doesn't. It's just there's so many good people out there that like have their own way of doing it. It doesn't necessarily translate for me. So it's just kind of you go out there and every day I try something different. I'm like, I want to use this club today. Even though last week I stunk with it, I'm going to try it again and see how it goes. So it's just a learning process.
Right. I think it's like it's one of those sports where like it's mainly you said like especially like a lot of people think it's like white only for the most part or whatever. But you see we see people of all races doing it. But you said like so the question I'm getting at is like if you look down there in Florida where there's a lot of gators, most black people know we don't discover shit. If we
Yeah.
see like the piece of a tail, we're getting the hell out of there. Now, like I said, I've seen videos of mofos playing through with a big ass 20-foot alligator. He's on the damn course. He was like, "How would you react to seeing something like that?"
I get in my cart as fast as I could. I'm from Cleveland, born and bred. I don't mess with gators. I want nothing to do with that.
He said, "That's crazy." Because, like I said, when you see it, it's like these motherfuckers, like y'all really that into it? You said risk your life for a ball, okay?
And
Fuck
people
it.
down in Florida, I mean, they have them just inside, like right outside their house. If they have like a little pond, there's gators all over, and they're just used to it. And I could never. There's no
Nah,
way. I stay away from open water at all costs.
you see, like Florida's definitely a gun state. So, I remember
Florida's wild,
seeing,
man. It's
yeah,
it's it's a whole different. It's basically a separate country.
absolutely. So, and I was sitting there, like I was, I think a few months back, I saw a video where a guy just he flipped his garbage can on his side to catch an alligator, and I'm like, bruh, pull out your pistol, shoot that mofo in the
If
head.
he's from Florida, you know he's packing. So just shoot it. Come on, what are you messing with a garbage can for?
Correct. Now you said like you being from Cleveland, you said like what really gets you going about the Cleveland sports teams?
I think it's just the loyalty. We've had so many heartbreaking moments in Cleveland sports that it's just I have to keep supporting. I can't give up on them because the 2016 Cavs championship was the sweetest day of my life. I still can remember every moment vividly. Um, just knowing that we fought so hard in Cleveland for how many years to finally get one was made it all worth it. It was such a great feeling. And I think it's just it shows you got to be tough if you're a sports fan. You root for your team and you have to be there for the good and the bad. And Cleveland has been mostly bad. But
Well,
when the good comes, I'm ready for it.
well, definitely. You said I can definitely you said relate. You know, just
Absolutely. You guys have had some struggles as well. I know that 28-3 isn't a good number to throw around people that are Atlanta fans.
it's like we can't go nowhere. We you said we can't get a great draft pick, or you said we can nothing good can happen in the city. 'Cause they always bring that up.
Yeah,
You,
and that's the same thing with Cleveland. Like, we get excited for the draft. We take a guy, everybody's in love with him, and then they play, and then the guy stinks, and we're like, okay, we should have known better. This is
right.
just what happens in Cleveland. But eventually the tide's going to turn. I'm ready for it.
Absolutely. I feel the same way when it comes to Atlanta. Like I hope and pray every year. I buy the jerseys every year. You said like
Yep.
I got a buddy of mine that streams the games while I'm on the road sometimes, so I can at least listen to the game because being in Ohio you don't get them. So
yeah, it's not easy to get those.
yeah, so like he's in a Falcons group and he like I said streams all the games. So I'm definitely grateful for him. I've actually done a couple YouTube videos with him. He said he's really into cars. Like he think it's like I think it's a rally cross or something like that. But he's into like cars like the Infinities and the Kia Stingers and stuff like that. I mean, like, and the Kia Stinger is a sleeper.
Yeah,
I had no idea that was such a dope car. I mean, the turbos and I'm like, oh my god, like it was just crazy.
Yeah, I don't know much about cars, but I know about the Kia Stinger.
Yeah, it was like I said, it was just crazy. But what is your opinion on? Because I definitely wanted to ask you the LeBron sexuals that cannot go a day without keeping LeBron James' name in their mouth for whatever reason, no matter whether he does something good or whether he does something bad. It's just they love to hate this guy.
Yeah, I feel like there's just a lot of people that it's because, Jordan is, and I think it's a good look for LeBron because Jordan's the greatest of all time and LeBron's right up there with him. Anybody can argue either one could be the best. It's 1A, 1B. They're both two of the greatest basketball players we'll ever watch. I think it's just people are so dedicated to one or the other that they have to spend their days just bashing the other one. Like you said, there's guys that hate LeBron. They wake up and anything he does, they want to rip on it. Then there's other guys that everything he does, they want to make it to be the greatest thing that's ever happened because they love him that much. I personally am a huge LeBron fan. Michael Jordan was my favorite player as a kid. Getting to watch LeBron James live, being from Cleveland, going to a ton of games, watching what he did for this organization, winning us a championship. For me personally, he is up to number one. I think he's the best player we'll ever see. The way he can pass, he can shoot, get rebounds. He does everything well. Not saying Michael Jordan doesn't. I know the argument everyone goes is, well, Jordan has championships, but it's a team game. Jordan played with some of the greatest players of all time, Scottie Pippen, Dennis Rodman. These guys are not, they're not bums. LeBron carried some really bad Cleveland teams very far into the playoffs. And I think that says a lot about LeBron as an individual because he did not have a good team around him. And he still was able to make deep playoff runs, go to the finals with some really bad teams, and just what he can do. I mean, he's the greatest scorer of all time now. He's going to end up with way more assists than Michael Jordan, more rebounds, probably better 3-point field goal percentage, even though the game is different in this era. But still, I think if you just look at the numbers, championships aside, LeBron's the greatest of all time, in my opinion.
And you said, because I was looking at a story a couple days ago where it said Allen Iverson said LeBron James is the greatest player on and off the court. And if you looked in the comments, just like we were just talking about a second ago,
everybody goes on to
lost their shit.
That's the greatest thing to do. I know Don P does that all the time. He loves to talk about LeBron, and you just see his comments blowing up with people arguing. That's all they want to do is argue.
Yeah. Well, you said, I also want to get into, especially with Don P. Don P's being so vocal. I say to anybody, if you're going to have a conversation with Don P., shout out to Club Pizzle, our brother Don P., it's like, you better know what the fuck you're talking about because he's going to put you on your ass if you do not know what you're talking about.
Right. And that's good. That's how I like to do it. When we talk sports, I'm talking about balls. I do the same thing. When people come in, I bring stats, I bring facts and figures, and I try to dominate a conversation. If that's my goal, if someone wants to argue with me, my goal is to win.
Right. Now, you said with your show, talking about balls, which you say, and your logo is very innovative, very funny, by the way.
Thank
you. How did that come about?
So years ago, my buddy Kyle, we met, probably 10 years ago or so, and we instantly clicked. He and I were really close, and we're just diehard sports fans. We love drinking beer, just watching sports, just relaxing. And I was doing a different podcast by myself that wasn't sports affiliated. It was I talked a little bit about sports, but it was about day-to-day life. So finally, I was like, you know what? I want to do a sports show, and we were like, let's come up with an idea. And we started thinking, and I love inappropriate jokes. I think that stuff's hilarious. I'm very immature. So I was like, I think talking about balls is funny because we're talking about balls because it's sports, but it's also, a dirty name. Right. And then I was trying to design a logo, and I'm not artistic at all. And I was like, what can I do to make a funny logo? So I was just doodling, and I did a T, an A, and an upside down B. And I'm like, it kind of looks like a dick and balls, but it's TAB. It's got our letters in there. I'm like, that's perfect. So I went on the website Fiverr, and I paid $20 or whatever to have somebody create those logos for me. And they came out beautiful, and I love them. I love looking at it. I actually have a big banner or a big wooden sign in my office here for talking about balls. I love it.
That's a double entendre right there. You
Yeah, absolutely.
see? Now you said like on your show, like you said, you guys do you said really well over there, especially over here at Redline. You said shout out to Dave and everybody over here at Redline. We're doing a thing. You said
Absolutely.
it seems like everybody's doing their thing. It's like I see everybody's really supportive of everybody. Usually because
Yeah.
like when by the time I go to work, that's when my show comes on. So I have to quickly share it and then get on the job.
Your show usually comes on while I'm at work. I get out at 3:30, so you're starting up right before I leave.
So like, but I'll go back and I'll look at the comments or and stuff like that, and I'll look at who's sharing it and stuff like. And it's like everybody's like I said, really supportive of everybody and everything like that. It's just like. So that's one of the reasons, like I said, definitely wanted to have you on because, like I said, we're supporting everybody. You said, like I said, somebody that may not have heard of your show yet, you said, just like, yo, check them out. If you in the sports, check them out, and vice versa. Now, like when your show is on, it's usually when I'm on break, so I usually try to chime in real quick or whatever. And you guys are like, you shot me out, so I definitely want to appreciate you on that.
Absolutely.
You know, it's like when you do your show, how do you decide to pick guests for your show?
So honestly, we don't do a ton of guests. It's more so like if anybody wants to come on, they're more than welcome. It's more so if somebody asks, like says they're interested, we're happy to have anybody on. We usually don't like bother people. We don't want to go out of our way to ask anybody to just like randomly come on. Like obviously, if you ever wanted to be on, more than welcome. I told Don P before, we had Grape on a few times. Dave's been on with us a bunch of times. Like we're more than welcome for anybody. It's just more so we don't like to bother anybody because we're not like typically an interview show. So it's just me, Tim, and Kyle kind of rambling back and forth about sports. We do a lot of interactions with the crowd and like the comments and stuff like that. But yeah, we're willing to have anybody on because Grape had me on a long time ago and I did his show and it was awesome. And I told him, I'm like, hey, if you ever want to come on my show, you're more than welcome. And a couple weeks later, he's like, I'll be there. So we set it up. He showed up. It was great. He's been on a few times. And we did like little skits with him because he's big into conspiracy stuff. So my co-host Kyle, he does a character called Conspiracy Carl, where he acts like he puts on the aluminum foil hat and acts like he's into like conspiracies. And him and Grape went back and forth with a bunch of conspiracy theories. We just had fun with it.
You said that's dope. You said because like I've seen some of Grape's skits and I've seen a lot of the comedians that we work around with. A lot of times they're doing these skits and everything like that. Like also some other stuff because like one thing we do here at Redline, everybody might not know, but I'm saying like you said they give us our numbers at the end of the month. They tell us how we did, things like that. And usually Lex Vegas is usually at the top for the most part.
Yeah,
definitely. And of course, when you watch the Lex Vegas show, he's got little Lex. Of course, now I have little Dub. You said
I know that's awesome. I love that.
You said you remember the scene on GTA 5 when Franklin was getting Employee of the Month and Lamar lost his shit.
Yeah, I love that.
I want to reenact that skit with little Dub and little Lex.
That's a great idea. I think that could happen.
It's like, and just once again to competing to the genius. You said like. And you saying you do skits, like I do a lot of, I also do videography as well. So if you ever free on a weekend or something like that, but I got this idea, I need it shot and edited.
Hell yeah, that would be awesome.
Yeah,
definitely. Usually we show up and we just kind of wing it. We do everything live on the air, but if we could ever get stuff pre-recorded, we'd love to do that too.
You see, because as crazy as my schedule is, that's how I do my show. I have to pre-record my show.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? I try to stay 5 to 6 weeks ahead of time, and sometimes I move my guests around depending on the subject matter that we're talking about.
Absolutely. You want to keep it relevant.
Yeah, of course. Then also I have 5 children I also have to attend to, and a wife. So
that's a full-time job in itself.
Man, I'm trying to tell you, my son has been bugging me. It's rained almost every day this week. My son, he throws football. Son,
yeah, that weather's been terrible around here.
Oh my god. And as soon as he wakes up, he stayed up all night screaming at the TV. He's like playing like the Roblox version of Madden and screaming at the TV all night, just
keeping you up.
He's just like, boy, if you don't shut your ass up.
You're one day off. You're just trying to get a little bit of rest.
Exactly. It's like when it comes to like sports games, like how deep are you into the sports games?
I used to be extremely into them. I would buy MLB The Show every year. I would buy Madden. I would get NBA 2K. Even play NHL. I would play everything. I recently haven't really played a ton of video games. Mostly my PlayStation 5 is just for Call of Duty. I get Call of Duty every year. Me and my buddies on a Friday night, we'll grab some beers, we'll hop on, throw the headsets on, and just talk a bunch of shit to each other. That's pretty much it though these days. I haven't bought Madden in probably 5 years or so. Um, it was kind of the same game every year. It was fun, but eventually I was just kind of bored of it. So I took a little break. I really love the college games. I'm looking forward to those coming back. I know they're supposed to. It keeps getting delayed, but when that comes back, I'll definitely be buying college football.
Right. We were touching on that real quick, like because they just passed a law to where you said college players can get paid for their likeness, which should have been happening in the first fucking place, but
a long time ago.
That's neither here nor there. But how do you feel like we mentioned college games coming back, that the college players finally get, you said, like I said, paid for their likeness, and do you think it'll be a fair wage that they're getting paid?
No, I don't think so at all. I think it's going to end up screwing a lot of players. I think pretty much you're going to have like the top tier guys, the household names, they're going to get their cut. They're going to make a ton of money. But the bottom of the roster guys who don't get playing time, who aren't well known, they might not even cut them a check. They'll make them a generic name. So these young kids that, they're never going to make it to the NFL. They get to be on a college team. It would be great for them to have their name in a video game, but I could see them being like, no, we're not even going to waste our time paying them because it's not worth it. So some kid just wants to get the game to show his parents, like, hey guys, I'm in a video game, and it's going to be some generic ass like John Smith instead of his actual name.
Like stuff like that does irritate me because, like I said, at the end of the day, even if you are a bottom of the roster guy, you see, for one, you don't just walk on the college teams at all. Yeah. You don't just walk on the NFL teams. I think if you make the team, you should make the cut.
I agree. They should do it where everyone on the roster it's equal. But I just don't think they'll do it that way because you're going to have, and it's more so the players than I think it's going to be the creators of the game. It's going to be the kid that's been catered his whole life and knows he's the best, knows he's going to make more money than everybody. So he's going to kind of argue and be like, well, I'm not signing if I'm not getting X amount of money. And they're like, well, we can't afford to pay you that. He's gonna be like, well, don't pay these guys. I don't care about them. I want this much money. I could see it being something like that. And it's going to cause a lot of drama with the teams because you've got these kids coming from all different sets of life from all over the country that come together for a college team. And some spoiled ass kid's going to be talking down to somebody that he doesn't know where he's from. And I think it could get kind of nasty, to be honest.
Definitely. But it's like with anything, it comes with the territory because, like you look at any other, genre, it's like, now, like when the USA women's soccer team was sitting there, rallying for equal pay.
Yep.
And people would sit there like, well, the WNBA should rally for equal pay, or they should get paid. What the NBA players get paid. I'm not gonna lie to you, I've never watched a WNBA game in my life, but the women's soccer players, they be kicking ass.
Yeah, I mean, I won't pretend that I'm a diehard WNBA fan by any stretch, but I've thrown on some games here and there, just if there's nothing going on, because they play it a lot on like Sunday afternoon. So it's like a rainy Sunday. I got nothing going on. I'll throw a game on just for fun. I can kind of look and be like, oh shit, I remember seeing her from college, 5 years ago. I didn't know she was on this team. But I don't follow it at all. And while I do understand their dilemma with the pay difference, at the same time, if you look at the stands of a WNBA game, there's nobody there. They're not having merch sales. They don't have huge TV contracts like that. That's why their money's never going to be there, because you have to make money in order to disperse it to everybody else. And the NBA can do that because the NBA is a multi-billion-dollar organization. Same with the NFL, baseball, etc. These women's leagues, they're just not bringing that kind of money in. So you can't pay them that like that. That's like, it just wouldn't make sense. The owners would be bankrupt. It wouldn't be worth it to even run a league if you're overpaying everybody and not making profit.
I mean, well, I think the last I heard, aren't they just in the black, in the red, like $10 million a year?
Yeah, they don't make money, but they're like right on the cusp of like, it's enough to where they can keep doing it because it's like a nice thing and they're trying to uplift women and like keep women in sports and stuff, which is a great thing. But yeah, they're just not making any money. They're rich enough, they can eat that negative 10 million or so, whatever it is. It's not hurting them, but if it gets bigger than that, then that's where they'd have to start making some tough decisions. I mean, Cleveland had a team at one point, but they had to go because it just wasn't making money. I remember the Rockers back in the day.
And that's funny because then you'll sit here because they're basically funded by NBA players.
Yeah.
And now you have some of them griping, talking about, well, the NBA players, they need to just skip a vacation this year or skip a trip to the casino to give us more money. But like I said, me personally, not hating on you guys, shit is boring to me, so I don't watch it. Now, I like seeing LeBron come back here, and you said that shit is exciting. That shit brings highlights. It brings dollars. It brings jersey sales.
Yep.
None of y'all are doing that. So I mean,
Yeah, watching some women, I actually coached my cousin. She was young. She was in sixth grade. This was probably 10 years ago. I coached her basketball team in North Olmsted. And I mean, yeah, it's night and day different. And it was awesome. It was a great learning experience for me. And I hope that I help those girls, learn the game of basketball a little bit better. But yeah, the game style between men and women, it's so different. And for the WNBA women to think that, Steph Curry should skip a vacation to help fund their money, it's just not right. Because you look at a guy like, it could be anybody, anyone in the NBA, even the worst player on a roster is so phenomenally talented. It's not even funny. And to think that they worked their asses off their whole lives to get to where they are, they should now give you a cut because you play the same sport just at a lesser level is just, it's absurd. These guys earn their money. Is it a ton of money? Sure. It, like the NBA contracts, I'm sure you saw Jaylen Brown's contract the other day. That was insane. That's crazy money. That deserved, probably not. But kudos to him. He worked his ass off his whole life. He made a supermax contract. He's now the richest NBA player. But he earned it all. He doesn't owe it to anybody else. He doesn't owe anything to the WNBA players. He earned that.
I mean, absolutely. Like the week we started this conversation, you said like early in the 2000s, you started hearing about it. The differences between like street ball and hardwood ball.
Yeah.
Now I've seen the professor videos. He was a player from AM1, and he's done all kind of videos. He put on Spider-Man suits, McDonald's uniforms, and literally busting mofos' asses.
Yeah, his handles are insane. I loved watching the N1 mixtape when it was on ESPN back in the day. I watched that show religiously.
Man, who are you telling? You said like, oh man, it used to be super dope. Like I said, I still watch the professor on YouTube to this day.
I do too. I see his TikTok account and all that. Man, he still has handles.
And he recently, I guess, sat down with you said Kevin Garnett, and it was just like and Kevin Garnett was talking about some years ago. They were in a Justin's restaurant, and the M1 guys were there, and a bunch of NBA guys were there. And he said, like, everybody in the restaurant thought these guys were going to fight, but no, they're just doing the regular trash talking shit. And like was like ready to lace them up and hit the court. And he said, it's like, now it's crazy because you said like you'll see like a Rafer Alston. You said plays with the Toronto Raptors, but also Skip Malou. And you see, like he was able to transcend both genres, both worlds. You know what I'm saying? It's like, but a lot of times you see NBA players will sit there and say, "Oh, you said, well, you have to play street ball. You're not good enough for this level." Or you'll see, saying like street ballers be like, "Oh, come here, prima donna. You can't mess with us on this court." You just like, why do you think there's still such a rivalry to this day?
I think it's because they're two totally separate styles of gameplay, and both are great. If you look at NBA players, you look at the N1 street ball players, what they can do is insane. The other ones can't do that, and that's what makes it so fun. Is because the game style is so different. Just this, like, don't get me wrong, NBA players have extremely crazy skills with ball handling and stuff like that. It's just not as outrageous as some of the N1 guys, but it also is way different just in terms of how you play 5-on-5. In the NBA, you have set plays, you have strategies, things like that. Street ball, some guys kind of go rogue. They're doing their own thing. As fun as it would be to watch, I think it would probably, if I had to guess, I would say the NBA would probably kick some ass if they had a tournament against some street ballers. But I'd watch the hell out of it if they did.
Oh, hell yeah. You take off traveling.
Yeah. That'd be wild. That's the other thing too. No double dribbles and no travels.
Right. Just, oh my God. Just like, do you remember like when we were talking about the M1 mixtapes, like when Hot Sauce to me, who's one of the baddest mofos to ever have a ball put in his hands.
Yep.
That it's in the shirt around the back crossover, one of the most insane crossovers I've ever seen.
And just did it so smoothly too. That was the craziest part about it all. Is like I know I did it. I'd go out in my backyard and I'm trying to do that, and I'm like, what the hell? How did he do that? To him, he can do it in the middle of a game like it's nothing.
It is crazy. Like, could you imagine? Like, it's like with NBA players, it's like the stories you hear are like girls being snuck in the room. Or them having parties like that, or whatever. Like with N1 during the mixtapes, the only shit you would really hear, you wouldn't hear about girls so much. It would be about Hot Sauce bouncing that ball at 3:00 in the morning.
Yeah, those guys they love their craft, and like to me, it's kind of like it's like music. Like you take a guy who's like, the top rapper, you got Drake. Drake can
Mm.
do whatever he wants. He's got women coming in and out. He could do whatever. And then you look at somebody that's still on the street level that they're just trying to get a stage anywhere in the world. They're grinding. They don't care about the women. They don't care about the publicity. They just want to get out there, get on a stage and perfect their craft. They're
Mm.
staying up late, making sure they're writing new songs. They want to keep working. Where you got a guy that's kind of cushioned, like an NBA player, where they're like, I can lay back and do whatever I want. But these N1 guys are like, no, I got to get better. I need to work on this move that's killing me that I can't figure it out. And like they just keep working. I love that. That just shows you the different level of, they're not making that kind of money, so they have to just keep getting better in order to
Mm.
keep doing what they're doing.
Right. But is it like, have you been seeing some of these videos that have been like exploding on YouTube here lately? Like, I think the next couple of NFL draft classes are going to be really wide receiver heavy because these wide receiver videos have exploded on YouTube. And
Yeah,
like you see some of these kids, and these kids are 12, 13 years old, and they're one hand Odell Beckham Jr. laid out catches. It's like, yeah, how do you feel when you see that level of dedication where they're like all day, you said long, just for these videos? How does that make you feel as a sports fan seeing the youth coming up?
I have mixed feelings on it, to be honest. I think a lot of it is like these kids, and good for them. They're trying to create a brand because now these kids can start getting paid. If I'm not mistaken, I think I was talking about it with when I was on Fourth and 15 a while ago. We were talking about high school kids getting paid.
Mm.
And at this point, with social media, I think it's just people trying to get their name out there. They're just showing highlight reels. And again, kudos to them. They're trying to make their brand, but it's just a shame that it's happening to kids at such a young age because a kid could grow into a growth spurt and it changes everything about him. He could be a great wide receiver today, and then tomorrow he's 6'8" and he's changing into basketball. But
Mm.
they spent years making videos of him playing football, and his life completely derailed, and he went in a different direction. Um, but it's also good for them to get the notoriety out there because it helps you try to get um, what's the word I'm looking for? A scholarship from a
Mm.
school, get you out there. And if you're in middle school, maybe a nice college program has their eye on you. You start getting older, you get a little bit better. The videos keep coming, and they're like, all right, we want to make this kid an offer. So it's definitely good and it's easy nowadays. Back in the day, you'd have to film that shit with like the big 100-pound camera on your shoulder, and you got to mail in VHS tapes. Now you can just throw up a YouTube clip and send it to everybody, and it's easy. It takes 5 minutes. So
Yeah.
it's the difference in the way the world is. Um, and also, it shows you the NFL right now. Wide receivers are getting paid. They are the upcoming position getting the most money. So kids are growing up and looking at that and going, well, shit, I want to be a wide receiver. Look at all that money that this guy got. So it's the new hot position. And it worries me too that's going to hurt the college level because as an Ohio State fan,
Mm.
we have Marvin Harrison Jr., probably the best wide receiver in the country right now. And there's a lot of people that are worried that he's going to sit this year out because he can go, I'm going to be a top 5 draft pick already. I'm good. I don't have to worry about that. So I'm just not going to play. And it's that diva mentality that the kids are starting to have. That's what worries me more than anything.
Yeah, absolutely. It's like we have prima donnas in everything. You see, it's like,
Sure.
and that shit irks my nerves. You see, it's like we think about like prima donna. Everybody thought AI was a prima donna, but when you say he got in trouble for missing practice, of course, you said back then when that happened, we weren't talking about mental health at the time, and he had just lost a friend and stuff like that. So
Right.
we didn't really understand the stuff like this. Oh, you said you're being bougie. You said, like, are you too good? Or blah blah blah. So like, but so like now we're in an era where you can discuss your mental health, or you say if you need to take a break for your mental health, you say yes. Of course, they're going to beat you up in the comment section regardless. But how do you feel with in the time where we're actually able to discuss mental health when it comes to these players and things like that now?
I love it. I know Kevin Love was a huge advocate when he was with the Cavaliers. He came out and expressed that he had panic attacks and things like that. Um, to speak on what you were talking about, though, with Allen Iverson, I do think that there is still a bit of a racial stigma behind it where you have, like you said, Allen Iverson misses practice, just lost a friend, horrible thing he's going through. And he kind of got just beaten up by the media. Everyone was just talking bad about him because he does have a checkered past. He comes from a bad neighborhood and, wasn't the greatest coming up. Like in terms of staying out of trouble.
Mm.
So you got a guy like that who goes through a little bit of trouble, and not comparing the two because I think they're apples to oranges, but you got a guy like Ja Morant who's clearly going through some shit, who keeps getting into trouble, showing guns, things like that. I think there's a mental health issue there. But instead of anybody really trying to reach out to help him, it's more so everyone's just going, this guy's a thug. He wants to live the thug life and this and that. I think he needs help. And you have a guy like Kevin Love who speaks out about mental health, and everyone's like, "Oh, that's so great! It's so sweet," because he doesn't have any type of troubled background. But I think that the stigmas are way different, but they're kind of one and the same. They need to treat everybody the same and get these guys the help that they need, and not look at it as like a bad thing. Because again, John Morant, who knows what he's really going through? To
Mm.
me, it seems like he's just reaching out for attention. He's trying to look cool. He's kind of fronting a little bit. So I feel like they should kind of talk about him in a nicer way than just saying he's a thug and he needs to be suspended for, this and that. Everyone just wants him punished instead of, has anyone actually reached out to make sure he's getting help?
Right. And of course, it doesn't. It's like sometimes we'll, no pun intended, shoot ourselves in the foot.
Yeah.
You said we're talking about guns. It's like a week or two after the second you send gun flashing video, he comes out with I guess a picture saying that the gun was a lighter or something like that. Bro, if it was a lighter, you'd have said that shit in the first place.
Exactly. We would have seen the flame coming out of it in the video. He would have been showing it off.
It's
But,
like
the same thing. I think my understanding, I don't know much about John Morant except for a little bit that I've seen on the internet, is that he kind of grew up with like a very cushy upbringing. His parents were well off. He was, never had to struggle or anything like that. Wasn't, didn't grow up in the hood or anything like that. And now that he's making all this money, he can do whatever the hell he wants. So now he's trying to live this lifestyle that he was always kind of like, maybe it was from music, movies, whatever, influenced him to want to live this lifestyle. He's trying to do that now. And it's because he has all these people next to him that are just saying, fuck it. He has all this money. I'm going to let him do whatever he wants because I get to be a part of this life, instead of actually trying to be like, hey, maybe you shouldn't do that. That's a horrible idea. Like, why aren't his friends talking him out of these horrible decisions? And to me, that shows you they're not his real friends.
I definitely agree with that. Now, on the flip side of that, you said I want to hit you with this, like, because you'll have certain other people on the other side of that argument saying, "Well, dude, he plays in Memphis. He lives in Memphis. You better have a damn gun."
Yeah, no, I mean, don't get me wrong. He definitely needs to be protected. I think that's the other thing. I'm actually reading a book right now. It's called Killing the Legends, and it's about Elvis, John Lennon from the Beatles, and Muhammad Ali.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not a Beatles fan personally. I didn't know a ton about them. I knew the one guy got shot, but reading about it, there's actually a part in there where they were interviewing Paul McCartney, and these guys were saying like, we were filthy rich rock stars, and we didn't have security. We didn't think about it. We didn't think we needed it. And then as soon as the one dude gets shot, now everybody has security. It changed everything, because you just kind of think like, that's not going to happen to me. And then it happens to one person. And then I think NBA players now, they're making so much money, any athlete for that matter. Even in Cleveland, there was that month or so where there were like 6 players that got robbed in downtown Cleveland for cars, jewelry, etc. It kind of seemed like it was a setup against specific Browns players. Mm-hmm. And it's like, these poor kids, on one hand, they want to flash that they have all this money and wear jewelry and buy nice cars, but at the same time, you're making yourself a target. So you kind of have to walk on eggshells. It's a really tough situation. I feel bad for them because they work their asses off. They get these mega contracts. They want to show off that what their success, and they can't because people are trying to rip it away from them.
Mm. Now, you said, like, how did it hit you when the story broke about Britney Spears getting slapped? You said, because we know that it didn't happen, but how did it hit you when that story came out?
That was to me, that was just, I mean, Victor Wembanyama, his security team, top notch. I know she's a woman. I'm not advocating hitting a woman or anything like that, but if you do sneak up on somebody and like grab them, a security team is just meant to do what they did. That's their job, is to protect their client. And it just shows you the entitlement that Britney Spears had, thinking like, I'm Britney Spears, I can do whatever I want. But if you do it that quick and that sudden without addressing everyone that's who you are, they have no idea who you are. It takes people a second to like look and go, register, okay, that's Britney Spears. So the security guard just turned around and said, crazy woman grabbing my client, react. And that's what happens. So I feel like she got what she deserved. You can't act like that. You're an adult. This is a 19-year-old kid or however old he is, and you're 40 years old or however old Britney Spears is, and you're just running up on him and trying to grab him. Like, that's not adult behavior. You got to grow up a little bit, be a little more mature.
Right. And it's been so long since Britney released a song over, you see, we hear bits and pieces about Britney Spears here and there throughout the years, but we haven't heard any music that's gone global and mainstream or whatnot. So this little 18-year-old kid has no idea who the fuck you are.
Yeah, I grew up with Britney Spears making fresh music. This kid's like, he heard the name. He doesn't know who the hell Britney Spears is.
Right.
That shit his mom would listen to probably back in the day. He doesn't know who she is.
Exactly. You know what I'm saying? It's like, it's funny. It's like, now with that, you said, because like we see what happens like when a celebrity is coming forward, like a younger guy or whatever, whatnot. But then you see a situation like Zion Williamson, with porn stars.
Yep.
Like it's like, what happened to the OGs of the game schooling these young boys? Bruh, don't do that. These kind of girls you don't want to mess with. But then you on the flip side of that, you'll see Shaquille O'Neal with a Brittany Renner. It's
Yeah.
like, or you see Shaquille O'Neal with like Hoops from Flavor of Love using back in the day or whatever. You just like, so even the OGs are out here messing up. So it's not setting a great standard for the young guys. How do you feel about that?
It sucks. It's a scary time to be a rich, successful man because you have women that come after you, and that's the bread and butter of it. I know that that's like a big thing when the NFL when they have a new draft class come into the league, they hold a rookie symposium, they call it, where they literally will sit these guys down, they talk to them about what to look out for. Women are going to come after you. Guys are going to come after you to like try to get you to hit them so they can sue you. At the end of the day, you really just have to now have eyes in the back of your head. You can't really trust anybody. You have to just assume everyone's out to get you, and you got to kind of really build a trust with people. And on the flip side of that, you can build trust with somebody, feel like they have your back and that someone you can trust, and then they're going to stab you in the back the first chance they get because there's a fat paycheck waiting at the end of that tunnel. And I think that's what happened to Zion.
And it was just crazy as that story broke. It was just like,
I was
bruh.
laughing my ass off reading those messages when she was calling him a fat motherfucker and this and that and all those tweets. I was dying. I feel bad for him, but I mean, he kind of did it to himself. He's got a pregnant girlfriend. He's out there trying to bang these OnlyFans models, thinking, "Oh, I won't get caught. What's the worst that could happen?" And then it blows up in his face. It's kind of like you're playing with fire. You're going to get burned.
Right. And whatever your advice is, to each his own. I got nothing.
Exactly. It's hard to say because I understand where he's coming from. You see this hot chick, he's probably getting DMs like crazy from girls, great looking women that are all interested or acting interested in him. It's hard for a young kid with all this money and free time to just say no. Like, how do you just look at that and be like, no, I can't do that? But you look at her and you're like, oh shit, I kind of want to do that.
Right. Now, you seem like each celebrity has their own special thing. Now, like when I think of Shaq, I think of like his car collection.
Yeah.
Because Shaq's got an impressive car collection. And he's like, you'll see other celebrities that like they're into really aquariums and stuff like that. Aquariums, excuse me. You see, like, let's say today you hit the lottery. You see, like, what would be like that huge purchase that you would make? That's like, this is my statement piece. What would be that for you?
Ooh, that's tough. I'm a pretty simple dude. My big thing would probably just be a house. I would want a big ass house, just one that I could move into, and I'm gonna have room for everything. Doesn't even have to be like super flashy. I just want something big. That would be my first thing. Would be buying a house for sure. As far as like an item, it wouldn't even be that expensive. Like if I won millions, this wouldn't even be a drop in the bucket. But I would want a LeBron James and a Michael Jordan autograph piece of something, whatever it is, whether it's a jersey, ball, whatever. I'm a big sports memorabilia collector, so my dream pieces are a LeBron and a Jordan. So that would be what I would get. But again, they're like $5,000 a piece. That wouldn't even drop at the bucket if I won millions. But that would probably be the first couple things I buy.
Well, that's awesome. Me, I'm a car guy, so I would definitely.
Okay.
I definitely have a fleet of cars that you see, and I also do like the aquariums and the fish tanks. So I'd probably be in that too. But it's like it was like when the story broke about Scottie Pippen. Now he's talking shit about Jordan wasn't that great, and Jordan sucked before he came to us, and so like we already know that Scottie Pippen's he's kind of bitter right now because of everything he's going through because he just lost half of his 401k to his ex-wife who's banging. It's like, so how does that hit you? Because we just mentioned Michael Jordan's the greatest player of all time. You're saying, but now you see his right-hand man basically on the team is like talking shit. How does that make you feel?
For me, I kind of look at it as like in this day and age with social media, I don't really trust half the shit that I see. Like, don't get me wrong, I'm sure he said all these things, but I don't trust that he means it. I think a lot of this is just his media team will tell him, like, all right, we're going to have you come out and say this. We're going to have you do this because, my guess is in 6 months, Scottie Pippen's going to have a book coming out. So they're just trying to get ahead of everything with a little bit of media coverage. So he's in the light and then his book's going to sell. Everything that happens, if you notice, like, it happens a lot with people. If someone has a book coming out or a movie coming out, that's kind of when you start to see them in the spotlight, in the media, the news. They have a quote that goes viral for whether good or bad, or they get in an incident where they're almost arrested and there's some viral clip that goes around with them like yelling at a paparazzi. And it always happens to line up when they have something coming out because their PR teams are like, we got to get you in the spotlight. So a lot of it I think is like premeditated and fabricated from social media teams. So do I think Scottie Pippen's bitter? Possibly, because I mean, he's had a great career. He's had a post NBA career, has been fine. He's one of the top 100 players of all time. Then you got Jordan, who's continuously making $1 billion a year. Was an owner of an NBA team. His brand is one of the biggest brands in the world. So yeah, I could definitely see a little bit of resentment that way. It's a shame that those two aren't closer, and he would just kind of disregard saying anything bad about his ex teammate. But again, I think it's probably just for media hype. It's to keep his name and keep him relevant.
He's like that's possibly true, and I definitely agree with that. He said like, if I was Scottie, I think I'd be bitter because if he said former teammate's son is banging my ex-wife, who I have to pay all this fucking money to, I'd be a little bitter.
No, I'd be pissed about that. That'd be horrible. That's the one thing of like you'd almost hope that your teammate Jordan would have your back and like tell his son like you're not doing that. Like that, there's no way.
Yeah, just as a grown man, like I could be petty. You saying so? Mike, you saying you've been my guy for years, but me and your son, he's a grown man now. We got to shoot a fade, like period.
Exactly. Like, sorry, Mike. I could still whip his ass, and I'm gonna have to do that.
Because not only are you saying because the wife's talking shit now he's kind of talking shit too. Like, yeah, we gotta shoot a fair one.
Yeah, it's ugly. It's a shame that that's what it came down to. But yeah, it's like breaking up. One of the biggest legacies in NBA history. Now after the fact, they come out with that awesome documentary, The Last Dance. And then now you've got him talking shit and saying he's not that great. But it's like, dude, Scottie, you got to understand, you would be nothing without Jordan.
Mm-hmm. Now, you said like another person that's been doing a lot of interviews is Dennis Rodman. Now, you said like, and a lot of people just think of Dennis Rodman being the bad boy and stuff like that. You said Dennis Rodman wasn't the greatest player on the court. I mean, but that motherfucker, like if there was a dog in the fight, Dennis Rodman was that dog in the fight.
Yeah, he had like if you had Dennis Rodman in NBA 2K or something like that, his stats might not be the greatest, but his hustle is going to be 100. Like that dude did not give up on a play. He would go after every rebound. He wouldn't back down from anybody. He's the kind of guy you want on a team. And there's a lot of people that even say that with the current Cavaliers team. Mm-hmm. We went out and got our asses handed to us by the New York Knicks. We were pushed around. We were bullied. So as soon as the season ended, all anybody talked about was they need to go after Dylan Brooks, somebody tough. They need to get a guy that's going to come out there and push the other team around a little bit. Somebody that they're, that's not going to back down. And teams need somebody like that. It really helps a team when you have that dog that can come out and kind of stir things up and be aggressive, because some teams don't have it. And it showed. Look at the Cavs. And Dennis Rodman was the epitome of that. He's a dude that would just come out, do whatever you wanted. Was he a little wild? Would he skip a couple practices, maybe a couple games? Sure. But you live to put up with it because that dude, when he's on the court, it's different.
Yeah, it's like we look at like using how aggressive it seemed back in the day. Know, like they're literally punching guys or kneeing guys in the thigh. You said, they're trying to get set for picks and stuff like that. You said now it's like a lot of people call LeBron. He's team LaFlop, and he's like. But if you look at back in the day, they were anything to get a competitive edge they were doing. But now, like I said, everybody's got fucking smartphones. Everybody's using a fucking sports analyst or a critic of some kind. You just like, do you think do you actually think the game is softer now, or do you think it's more easier at our fingertips because of our phones?
I think it's definitely gotten a little softer, but it's not due to the players. Like that's the one thing that I'm like you, like where you were saying how everyone calls him LaFlop and they make fun of LeBron for flopping, but it's like I just see a guy who took advantage of the new rules. The league is the one who decided to call fouls on everything. The refs are the ones that are blowing the whistle, almost on every possession. So when you have a guy who's good enough to take advantage of that and go, all right, well, if this guy touches me, I'm going to drop because I know I'm going to get a whistle. That's just being smarter. That's playing chess, not checkers. I like it. I mean, like you said, competitive advantage, anything you can do to get the upper hand. That's all these guys are doing. If a guy flops and he gets called out on one because it was a horrible flop, it is what it is. Mm-hmm. That's going to be one bad one for every 10 that he gets, where he gets the whistle and gets to go to the free throw line at the other end. So it goes both ways. I think it's just the guys have outsmarted what the new game is. They've taken advantage of it. Back in the day, sure, you could swing a couple elbows. They weren't going to blow the whistle. Now they will. So players will completely flop backwards if someone's even brushes an elbow against them because they're like, hey, if I get a whistle, great. If I don't, I don't.
Mhm. It's funny to me because like you can even do that in like the 2K games. You say you
Yeah.
click it's like
Oh, yeah.
you double tap, you send B or circle, depending on what the game system you have, you can literally flop. And I was like, and it's hilarious to watch. It's like especially like because doing it in the park, you said you kind of expect it. You said because people are just putting button mashing anyway most of the time.
Yeah,
But
absolutely.
but when I see like I'll do it sometimes in an NBA game just to try to get a foul. It is the funniest thing in the world to me. You said like speaking of that, I'm actually going to get back to gaming here soon. You said I will be bringing some 2K content. I know the new one's coming out here soon, so I'll
Yeah.
definitely be picking that up. So you guys, you said be definitely looking out for that. But you said I see in the background you got a lot of the horror memorabilia back there. You said like, what's that about?
I love horror movies. That's my favorite genre. So my whole right arm, I can show you a little bit here. I've got
Mm,
all horror tattoos. I got
mm,
Michael Myers. I got everybody in there. Horror is just my favorite genre. I grew up loving horror movies. And my wife also. So we were a good match together. So she actually got these masks for her. She does hair. She's a hairstylist.
mm.
And around Halloween time in her salon, she takes all these masks. They're actually on mannequin heads that she uses for hair, and we just throw them up in the office for the rest of the year when it's not in season. And when she takes them into her office, they're in there. But for the rest of the time, they're sitting here. Got the
Okay.
clowns and everything. I got a few to my left. I got a couple Michael Myers ones over there. Yeah, I love horror. Everything about it. I'll watch pretty much any horror movie. I'll watch any movie in general. I love entertainment movies and TV shows and stuff. But horror's definitely got a soft spot in my heart.
Right. Well, a lot of us that were born in like Charlemagne the God says, we were born in the 1900s.
Yeah.
A lot of us have that one go-to movie that we could sit there and watch 9 million fucking times, recite word for word from beginning to end. What is that movie for you?
Mine is Goodfellas. That is my favorite movie of all time. I love that movie. I love mob movies. Goodfellas is one that if it's on TV, I stop what I'm doing, I turn it on, I sit down, I'm watching the movie. I don't care if there's 10 minutes left or if it just started. I have to sit down and watch that movie every time. I love Goodfellas. What about you?
Is me Scarface?
Okay,
That's
no, that's a classic one too. I love that movie. We're in the same ballpark.
Oh yeah, definitely. You said like I grew up like in California, so I also like dance type stuff. So like breaking
Okay.
one and two, that's like
Yeah.
you put them on. It's like oh, hey, shut your ass up. I'm watching. You,
Yeah, exactly. Like my plans just changed. This is what I'm doing today.
you see, like a lot of people have, you said, mixed reviews when it comes to a lot of these remakes. You just like, how do you feel when it comes to these like some of these remakes?
I like them at first. I love the thought of a remake because I think, like, for instance, for me, we were talking about horror movies. I love Michael Myers is my favorite horror character. The Halloween movies are my favorite. So when they started remaking those years ago, I was like, I'm all excited because I'm like, I love the movie from the 70s. Now I get to see it with current technology. With they're allowed to do more things. They're allowed to be gorier and dirtier and make it cooler. And I feel like a lot of them have just kind of missed the mark on what the movies were, and they're not the same. They're very fun. I love watching them. It's just doesn't even come close to the classics though. I still love the original, Texas Chainsaw,
Mhm.
Halloween, Friday the 13th. These original movies that were made with a low budget with unknown people. They're so much better than these remakes when they get unlimited budgets now and they still screw them up. But I love the fact that they keep making them. It's just more stuff for me to watch, so I'll never turn it down.
Right. You said you remember like when we were kids and we would see some of these horror movies. Well, a lot of times we're scared. We were scared shitless. Usually, like
Yeah,
let's
like
see.
I was actually terrified of Chucky from Child's Play. I
Mhm,
hated dolls. It's ironic because you see the doll behind me there to my left. I've got Chucky tattooed on my arm here. I
mhm.
was terrified growing up though, and for whatever reason, that just kind of made me grow closer to him because I was so afraid of them that I was like, all right, I got to face my fear. And I started watching all this stuff. And next thing you know, I'm like, this isn't so bad. Like it's just a doll. And then I'm loving it. And I'm like, well, let me watch this movie now. Let me see Puppet Master. And I just kind of snowballed from there. And now I'll watch everything.
Right. Well, now you'll see the kids. They're playing this shit called Dead by Daylight.
Oh, I
You
love
see,
that game. That's a fun one.
you see, it's like because I mean, like, because our games sucked back in the day. Let's do the
Oh
graphics
yeah, I
like.
mean absolutely. I was born in '89, so I grew
Mhm.
up with like Super Nintendo, regular Nintendo, where the graphics were trash. When you go back and play it, you're like, how the hell did this keep me entertained for days on end?
Right. Well, I was born in '83, so
Okay.
so I'm right up there with you. It's like, and you look at, you see some of the like the gore and stuff like that on like, especially like a Red Dead Redemption 2, like,
Oh
which to
yeah.
me
I mean,
is
the
one
graphics in video games.
aesthetically one of the greatest games used out. Period.
Yeah, of course.
You said it's the world is so immersive and things like that. You said like, so you see where we came from like a Pong to, like you said, like you mentioned earlier, Call of Duty or RDR2 or GTA 5. You said stuff like, how are you impressed with you said the evolution you said that gaming has gone through?
Oh, absolutely. It's almost scary how realistic they can make things. And then with the VR and the talk of all this kind of stuff where it's going to make you feel like you're literally in a scene with something or in the game and everything just feels real. We were talking about GTA 5. I know they've been working on GTA 6 for the last like 10 years,
Mhm.
and there's some clips that kind of come out every once in a while. They're trying to keep it, hidden. But the graphics on that are going to be insane. I mean, you think about GTA 5 is probably like 10 years old or whatever, and you could throw that in today and it's still amazing graphics. It looks crisp. It's a really good game. And now you think about how much further they've come along, and there's going to be a new one coming out soon. It's awesome. I love it. The way technology is getting with the systems, with your televisions, being able to show that image at such a crystal clear, beautiful, makes you feel like you're really there. Even with sports games, you can look at like Madden, how far it's come along. Like now, if somebody's walking by as you're playing, they might think you're watching a football game. They don't realize you're playing a video game, but that's how
Mhm.
damn good it looks.
You see, like, I know they're talking about GTA 6 and all of you said the stuff that's coming out and everything. You said that it's basically what I'm getting here recently is they're kind of basically trying to take GTA 5, everything that was great, also upgrade it and stuff like that, but also incorporate some things that they dropped the ball on. It's like some of the things like from Watch Dogs 2, like
Yeah,
where you like more interactive. You deal with the cameras and police different and stuff like. To me, like, I think that's something that's cool. And then the police are supposed to be better and using things like that, which I'm here for because I love using a good entertaining story. I love using it. If I'm gonna spend my money, make it worth my while.
exactly. That's the good thing with GTA is you're going to get a game that's going to take you, you know, God knows how many tens of hours to beat. And then on
Mm,
top of that, it's an open world. So if you don't feel like doing your mission, you can go around and you could take days to just drive around, do whatever you want, and you still won't see the whole map. Like that's how big and immersive they make these games. And that's the best part about it is it's you're getting your money's worth. If they charged, I think video games nowadays are like what, $70 or something like that. If they charged me like $100 or even more for call or for Grand Theft Auto, I would buy that because you're getting your money's worth out of it because it's so entertaining. Now on the flip side, there's games you can get and you could beat it in like 20 hours and you're like, all right, I paid $70 for this game that I
mm.
ran through it. It's done. There's not much else to do. Like that was a waste of money. I like getting my money's worth, and I think GTA is going to be so worth it and so much fun. I'm really
Right.
looking forward to the new one.
Right, with the new NBA 2K 24 that's coming out, you said
Yep.
you got the standard edition, which is the hard copy. That's going to be $70. You got the digital version with you said which is got Kobe on the you said the cover, and then you got the ultimate. So you got the $70 version, you got the Kobe edition, which is $100, and you got the ultimate edition, which is $150.
Okay.
You just like to me, like sometimes, like especially like when you get up there in that 150 range. Because me personally, I don't play my team. I don't play in the park. I don't play rec. I do. I'm a my career kind of guy.
I'm the same way. That's all
Is
I did with like even MLB the Show. I do Road to the Show. I create myself, and all I want to do is play as myself and try to make myself into the best player that I can. And I do the same thing in NBA. I would just create myself, get drafted, and just try to be the best player.
you see, that's funny as hell. That means we're like kindred spirits. Because like when I get a new game, everybody's like, oh, I want to see the gameplay. I want to see the gameplay. Fuck that. I'm creating my guy first. Fuck
That's
that.
kind of why I got bored with Madden over the years because they don't do that. Like I wanted to create my own team and like I want to be like more of a GM than anything. So with Madden,
Mm,
it kind of got boring because it's like, all right, I just want to run the team. Like I don't really care about playing. It's more so I want to draft and I want to get this player and I want to, sign this guy for a good contract. Like I care about that shit. So for Madden just got a little boring, but the way they let you do all that stuff as yourself in
mm.
an NBA or MLB, it's to me that's the most fun format of the game.
Right now, you said that you're a baseball fan. You said
Yep.
me. I can't. Me personally, like, not really a big fan of baseball. I like the hats. I'm a hat
Okay.
guy.
Hey,
You
I
said
respect that.
you just it's like with I'll play a baseball game all day long. But
Yeah.
as far as going, you said like I know there's a huge you said dichotomy of an ecosystem of people you said that you around like baseball stadiums and stuff like this. I love that. You said just me to me the game is more, but like literally sitting there you said trying to recreate like the Mark McGuire, Sammy Sosa era after you create your character, trying to like kill home runs. That's my thing when I play the game. You know what I'm
That's
saying?
all I want to do. I just make myself like usually I'm a first baseman or something, and all I care about is batting. And that's the cool thing with MLB The Show is they actually have an option where you can do where you only bat. You don't have to play in the field.
Mm.
So if you're doing your career, you just bat. So you can get a whole game done in like 10 minutes because it's just like 3 at bats a game. It's nice and easy.
You said that's actually pretty dope. It's like if I do it like when if I'm playing basketball, I'm either a shooting guard or a point guard.
Okay.
If I'm playing football, I'm a quarterback or a running back. If you said in baseball, I'm only a pitcher.
Yeah. That's awesome. I mean, and that's the same thing. Like in baseball, you can do that too, because then you play the whole game, you create yourself, and you don't have to worry about batting because the game will just do that for you.
Mm-hmm.
That's awesome, man. I love doing stuff like that. That's why I kind of stopped playing sports games because it's all I really wanted to do is create myself. So if I have a good season going in one game, I'm like, I don't need to buy the new version because I don't want to start over. Like I'm in like year 10 in this league. I want to keep going.
Do you think that takes away from from wanting to immerse yourself in a game because they do come out one every year?
Yeah, I think so. I know. I'm not too familiar because, like I said, I haven't bought a new one in a few years, so I could be wrong. But do they let you transfer your character over or like your player? See,
No.
that's the problem. That would make me not want to buy it. If I put, countless hours into playing a game, like I don't know how much you play 2K, but if you create yourself, let's say you're playing it like, a few hours a week at least, like you're putting in a good amount of time just for a new one to come out to be like, all right, well, let me throw all that away and start from beginning. That makes me go, I'm not doing that. I'm not spending money to start over. That seems like a waste. So I would just keep going with the old version.
Right, because I still have using all the old 2Ks on my hard drive. If like literally, if you were to come in here right now and I pulled up my hard drive and then you just reloaded each one and you see how much VC I still have with some characters for each.
Absolutely.
Each fucking it's like you'd be like, dude, what the fuck is wrong with you?
That's like I think the last MLB The Show I bought was like 2019, maybe something like that. And like if you look, it shows my characters. The only thing I play on there is Road to the Show, and it says like year 8. I've played like 8 years worth of seasons as my guy, and that's all I want to do. I don't need to buy a new one because my dude's already got plenty of progress.
Absolutely. You said now before we get up out of here, you said give everybody your socials and you said tell them where they can find your show.
So you can find me personally. I am on Twitter, Instagram, everything at not Justin George. And then Talking About Balls can be found everywhere. We're on Facebook. We have Twitter. We've got Instagram. We have a TikTok. We have a website that's actually getting finished up right now. It'll just be talkingaboutballs.com. My buddy's a media manager, so he created the website for me. And I was actually just talking to him yesterday. We're just about done with that. It's ready to go live. Yeah, check us all out. And I want to give a special shout out to my producer, Timbuk2. Check him out on everything. Find him, Timothy Washington, on Facebook. He's got all his socials everywhere. But much love to Timbuk2. I got to give him a shout out.
Hell yeah. Man.
Love it. Yeah, he plays that shit all the time.
He said, that is awesome. You said, like, if you guys like this video, make sure you smash that like button, turn on the bell notifications so you don't miss another video. Without further ado, I love you. JG loves you. We out of here, man. Peace.
Peace.
The boy Dub Deuce in the building.